My name is Matthew Doherty, and my fourth quarter theology project is on history and importance of Catholic schools, and I'll be focusing on 4 Maryland schools. Exactly when and where the first Catholic school began in this country, or the names of the teacher and pupils, remains a mystery. What is clear is that the Catholic education goes back deep into U.S. history to at least 1606. Expressing their desire to teach children Christian doctrine, reading, and writing, the Franciscans opened a school in what's now St. Augustine, Florida. Further north, and a bit later, Jesuits began to instruct dedicated Native American students. By the later 1600s, English colonists had set up their own publicly supported schools, but since all the colonies were overwhelmingly Protestant, the basic education often had a heavily fundamentalist Protestant cast. Even in Catholic-founded Maryland, Catholics were a minority, although with a bit more freedom. In New Orleans, the Franciscans opened a school for boys in 1718. The Ursulines opened one for girls in 1727. Catholics in Philadelphia in 1782 opened St. Mary's School, considered the first patriarchal school in the United States. Ratification in 1791 of the Bill of Rights, with the First Amendment guaranteeing religious freedom, helped Catholics further cement their place in post-revolutionary America. Catholics, however, faced another challenge, the Civil War. Although it divided American Catholics into North and South, it also helped further dilute religious prejudices, with Catholics fighting alongside Protestants on both sides. The post-war period brought continued growth in Catholic education, with the Second Baltimore Council in 1866 repeating the call for patriarchal schools, and the Third Baltimore Council in 1884 turning the plea into a demand that all Catholic parishes open schools within the next 2 years. In 1904, Catholic educators formed a new organization, the National Catholic Educational Association, also known as the NCEA. In 1900, an estimated 3,500 patriarchal schools existed in the United States. Within 20 years, the number of elementary schools had reached 6,551, enrolling 1,759,673 pupils, taught by 41,581 teachers. The main difference between Catholic and public schools are the connection between students and faculty. It seems that teachers care more about the students in Catholic school more than they do in public schools. I'm not saying public school teachers don't care. I'm simply saying that Catholic school teachers will most likely go out of their way to help a student learn and progress, just not as a student, but also as a human being. After researching, I have encountered multiple websites and articles that have spoken about the benefits of attending a Catholic school. According to www.valuesforalifetime.com, the top reason your child should attend a Catholic school are these: spiritual and moral values, academics, community service, continued education, extracurricular activities, parental involvement, graduation rate, and a committed faculty. I agree with all of these benefits, and I do believe these are very important. However, depending on where you'd go to school depends on the difficulty of the academics. Many public schools are tougher than Catholic schools, while many others are a lot easier. I think people who go to Catholic school automatically think they're better than someone else who goes to a public school. The only thing that isn't great about Catholic schools is the tuition, but other than that, they seem to be an overall positive place to attend. Since you now know a little bit about the background of Catholic schools around the country, I will now focus on just 4 of them here in the state of Maryland. I have chosen Calvert Hall, Loyola, IND, and Mount DeSales. I will give a brief history of them and talk about why they're good or bad schools to attend. The first school I'll be focusing on is Calvert Hall. In the early 1840s, Archbishop Samuel Cleston sought to open a school for the boys of the Cathedral Parish in Baltimore. Knowing the work of the Brothers of the Christian Schools in Canada, he requested the Brother Superior General to send brothers to conduct the school. Informed that there were none available with English-speaking skills, the Archbishop recruited a few candidates for the Brothers' Novitiate, with the understanding that after completing their training in Montreal, they would return to Baltimore to staff the Cathedral School. Eventually, Brother Francis McMullen, a native of Baltimore, was assigned as director of the new school on Saratoga Street. He was accompanied by Brother Edward Whitty. On September 15, 1845, the brothers assembled 100 students for the celebration of Mass and the opening of what was to become the first permanent foundation of the De La Salle Christian Brothers in the United States. The steady increase in enrollment eventually necessitated the purchase of a new property at Cathedral and Mulberry Streets. In 1891, Cardinal James Gibbons presided at the dedication and blessing of the new building. I will now be talking about Loyola Blakefield. The Society of Jesus established Loyola Blakefield, formerly Loyola High School, in 1852, after St. Mary's Seminary closed St. Mary's College in order to concentrate on the education of future priests. On September 15, 1852, both Loyola College and Loyola High School opened their doors on Holiday Street under the guidance of Reverend John Early, the first president. In February 1855, the two schools moved to Calvert and Madison Streets, the present site of St. Ignatius Loyola Academy and Center Stage. In 1921, the school split and the college moved to its new Evergreen campus, while the high school remained downtown. In 1933, thanks to financial support of a major benefactor, George Blake, the campus purchased the land today known as Blakefield. 1 year later, upperclassmen met there for the first time, while the freshmen remained downtown. By 1941, the downtown campus was closed and all classes moved to Blakefield. Next up is the Institute of Notre Dame, also known as IND. The history of the Institute of Notre Dame is connected with the history of the School Sisters of Notre Dame and foundress Blessed Teresa of Jesus Gerhardinger. The images of Blessed Teresa placed all around the school building are an ever-present reminder of the young woman who began a religious community in Germany and came to North America in response to a call to educate the children of German immigrants in the 1840s. Since many German immigrants settled in Maryland, Reverend John Newman, who was later canonized a saint, invited Teresa to Baltimore. She and a small group of school sisters left their mother house in Munich, Bavaria in 1847 to begin serving women, children, and those marginalized in Baltimore. From their convent on Eager and Somerset Streets, they walked to nearby parishes to teach children at St. James, St. Michael, and St. Alphonsus. The first permanent school established by the School Sisters was IND, located at Asquith and Ashland Avenue. When IND opened in 1847, the school accepted both day and boarding students. As early as 1852, the Chronicle reports 10 boarding students, and by 1857 the number increased to 25. On July 24, 1864, the first class graduated in a public ceremony.
instrumentals.
The final school I will be talking about is Mount DeSales Academy. In 1852, Mount DeSales was founded for the education of young women by a group of visitation nuns from Georgetown, the first Catholic institution in Baltimore County to offer education to young women of all denominations. Mount DeSales' earliest students represented nearly all states, as well as several European and Latin American countries. The school was set in the pastoral landscape of Catonsville, at that time home to many summer residences of well-to-do Baltimoreans. Although they did enter the classroom to teach, the visitation nuns remained cloistered over the years, and traces of the original grills, turnstiles, cloister garden, and convent sleeping quarters are still very much in evidence around the school today. In fact, in 1986, the building was added to the Maryland Historic Register. In 1979, when the visitation nuns could no longer continue at the school, Father Robert Dewar and a dedicated lay board of trustees remained committed to keeping Mount DeSales open. They wanted a group of religious sisters dedicated to Catholic education to continue at the academy, and in 1985, the Dominican Sisters of St. Cecilia Congregation in Nashville, Tennessee, responded to the call and took up residence in the historic gatehouse. Finally, I will give you my opinion on are Catholic schools important or not. Before I started this project, I was honestly really not a fan of Catholic schools, even though that's where I've been going to school since I was 4 years old. I looked at it from the viewpoint of money and how much it cost and things like that. For example, MSJ is over $10,000 a year. After 4 years, that's an estimated $40,000 to $50,000. That's at least one new car, even maybe two. That's a good chunk of a house payment as well. After researching and reading, I still am not really a fan of Catholic schools just because of the money. Granted, I do live in Howard County, and that has great public schools and are some of the better ones in Maryland. I can see if you live in the projects where public schools probably aren't the best way to go. I also talked to my dad recently about why I go to Catholic school and not public. He told me that it's because we used to live in a rough neighborhood and the schools were not good at all. He said that's the reason why he and my mom sent me to OLV, along with my brother and younger sister. Once we moved out to Ellicott City, he gave my sister, brother, and I all the option to either stay at OLV or to go to local public school. We all chose to stay at OLV since our friends were there. But looking back on it, I wish I would have chosen the public school system. I feel bad as a child because my parents have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars for our education when there was another source that wouldn't cost closely as much.